I know the last time we talked to you leading up to the exhibition game against Texas, you weren't necessarily pleased with the way your team has been practicing. How do you feel like they've responded since the loss to Texas this week?
Yeah, I think we've had some good practices. Obviously, we want to continue to evolve from a practice standpoint, but I think the guys' mental, makeup physically, we've practiced with the energy that that we kind of want to have, culturally, chemistry wise, and then just making sure that everybody understands in our entire program, the mission and the vision, all those things. But we knew coming into the year that this was going to be a learning experience, that that we were not going to be a finished product, a week before our first regular season game, which is kind of when the Texas game took place. But yeah, we have a lot of uncertainty on the floor, schematically, that we're still trying to work out and understand who our team is. But really happy that we played that game. I think in the long run, it'll benefit our program in a big way.
And Kamani was just telling us that y'all watched like the entire game in a film session. It was like 3 hours long, longest film session he's had since he's been here. What was the reasoning behind that?
There was no reasoning; it was needed. I mean, I think if I would have asked any of you guys to do a film session after that performance, hopefully you would have had a 3-hour film session as well. But yeah, we needed to see all the possessions. We didn't need to see the cut ups. We needed to see when they made their run. All those things, I think became extremely important for the guys to get a live kind of feel. Normally our film sessions are really short, sometimes 5 minutes long. I'm surprised that we haven't continued to watch that tape more. I'm surprised our assistant coaches haven't demanded to continue to watch it, because can never watch enough of that one.
Appreciate it.
Curtis.
Coach, what have you seen out of North Dakota State so far in your prep, and just maybe the main challenges they'll pose for you on Monday?
Yeah, so obviously, Morgan, number 23 inside, had a really good game. We all watched that game on live stream. And number 4, Nelson, is kind of their star. He's a guy that both those guys, Morgan and Nelson, are 6'10", and Nelson's got 3-point range. He's got game off the bounce. They posted Morgan up a lot, trying to get him deep post catches. And number 14, Scunberger, is a guy that can shoot threes. Also a very good dribble driver. He's got a dribble drive game with his left hand. Their point guard Yoder played with some nice pace, pushing the ball. He goes by number 5, can make open threes. And then really impressed with their freshman. Number 2, Miller, 6 of 10 from 3 ball. And then number 12, Waddle, had a really good game as well. So both those wing players, or off guard / small forwards, played well and shot well. White is a junior college player, number 11 at the off guard. They played him at a little bit of point guard, but he's got a reputation as a shooter. And then obviously McKinney, number 0, a returning player who did not play the other night in their home exhibition game, but McKinney, number 0, is really good pushing the basketball, plays with good pace, very good at getting to the rim. And then their backup interior player, Street, number 22, is a hardworking player who understands angles, needs an angle to score, but a very good offensive rebounder. And so you're facing size with Morgan, Nelson, and Street. And then you're facing a returning player in Scunberg, who's got, a game off the bounce as well as shooting the 3, and then 2 freshmen who really can shoot the basketball.
And then with a couple Summit League teams on the schedule early, it's hard not to think about Todd Lee. Just curious how he's been as an addition to the staff for you, and then how valuable is it to have that with some of these early games before these teams have a larger sample size, to have a guy that's coached against them for the last several years?
Yeah, I mean, we have 3 guys on our staff from the, from the Summit League, and Caleb Klein, and obviously you mentioned Coach Todd Lee, as well as Matt Lopez. So we have a group of guys that have been in that league. But, I think certainly, Todd's function is really to coach me, to help me. We bounce ideas off all the time, both in the office and then at home when I'll call him at night. But certainly, Todd has great familiarity with Nelson and incredible respect for 14, Scunberg and McKinney, those 3. But then everybody else is kind of new. You're talking about Yoder, a transfer in, and Waddle, the freshman, and Miller, the freshman, and White, the junior college player. So, I think it can help somewhat, but every team, especially the first game of the year, you don't have much body of work to go off, but this is a well-coached team. This is a team that does a really good job of occupying you on the weak side with what we call weak side pairs action. Well, they'll screen. They like to throw the ball into their post. Their post guys are good crab dribblers to try to get closer angles to the rim. Little bit unorthodox to see guys like to put the ball on the deck. Number 4, Nelson, going to his left. Number 14, both like to dribble drive. Right-handers who like to go left a little bit. So, they present some problems and some uniqueness that maybe we don't see in SEC play. So yeah, we're trying to come up with little themes and how we can be innovative in our preparation for a team that has good skill shooting and passing the ball.
Scotty?
Hey, Coach, I'm going to maybe pull a Bob on you real quick. It's your 4th season opener. Just curious what you think about that, and just, where you've gotten, how you built this thing from where it all started with Rice.
Yeah, I mean, we played really good against Rice, though. I mean, I would say that in year 1, that opening night game is as good as any group that I've ever. We had really great buy-in. It's hard in year 1 to have buy-in, and it always starts with your star players. And I certainly felt like Mason Jones and Isaiah Joe did an incredible job of buying into what we were trying to convey to them. I don't have that score in front of me, but I know at one point it might have been up in the 45s or something. And so it was a team that was really, really ready to play. And I think, on opening night, you've got to be ready to play. We got a young team. I think that the Texas game again helped us. But we've got to understand and respect every possession. We have to understand as a group how hard it is to win a 40-minute basketball game and how hard you have to compete.
Yeah, it kind of led me into my next question. Where would you gauge the readiness of the guys right now?
I think that if, I've been around Hall of Fame coaches that, have often, said a team's ready to play, and then you go out and you stink. And I'm not one of those guys that looks at a practice today on Friday and says that that's going to determine the outcome of the game. I certainly think that you can get a feel for your team on their mental approach. You can get a feel for readiness. But even on shoot arounds, I mean, I've seen some horrific shoot arounds, and then, oh, wow, you end up winning a huge game. And I've seen the opposite, where you think your team's, I mean, I thought we had a great shoot around in Little Rock last year, and we had a lot of people, a lot of coaches that sat in and watched that and thought it was one of the best shoot arounds that they've seen. And that's, one of the most horrific games I've ever been a part of. So that shoot around was not indicative at all of how we went out and played.
And you've mentioned this preseason, maybe I think it was after the red-white game, you guys are going into the year with a target on your back. Do you get a sense that the guys are understanding of that, or where do you think they are in terms of embracing it?
Yeah, I think some understand it and some don't, but I think that's, not unexpected. I told I told everybody that I thought before the Texas game, it would be an eye-opening experience, and it was. And so I think there's a lot of unknowns headed into this 3-game homestand before we go to Maui. And I think that you'll see different things start to emerge game by game as well. Roles will start to be, solidified a little bit more, although we have had a pretty good body of work to judge both off, a lot of practice time, a lot of charting of things, a lot of game action. But I think that, when the lights come on, things can change for players, both ways, good and the opposite of good.
Demetrius.
Coach Buzz, can you comment on the BWA live event? And is that maybe something you see happening in the future before marquee games like a Kentucky or Florida?
Yeah, I thought last night was really good. I mean, the student section that came, was even more than we probably had anticipated being the first time. I love the idea of entertainment. I think when you come from a professional background, that's kind of, look, this is basketball for sure, but it's also a form of entertainment because you're asking people, to spend money to come watch not just a game, but to be entertained, entertained during timeouts, entertained at halftime, entertained pregame, entertained postgame. And I think that as most things in college athletics have evolved to go the pro route in many aspects, the game operations and all that, I think, is still evolving in college. But I think the environments that become really, really good are the environments that take on some of the things that happen professional, because let's face it, the NBA is maybe the world's greatest entertainment game, not just between the lines. I mean, you go to a Memphis Grizzly game and there's a lot of stuff happening. And you go to a Golden State Warrior game, a lot of stuff going on besides the basketball game. And so I certainly think that over the next 5 years, you'll see a lot more innovative things happening across college athletics from an entertainment standpoint. Where we're in that, I don't know. I'm all for creativity and doing things that are not the norm.
Any other questions for Coach Muss?
Mike's worried about what I might say, I guess.
Yeah, Eric, I'm curious if you've got an idea a few days out who you might start, or is that still just kind of a fluid situation?
Yeah, I mean, I much like college coaches, and they don't know which quarterbacks are playing, and injuries or flus or whatever. Like I'm not really sure who we will start. The first time the public will know is probably whenever that starting graphic goes out. Is probably, and in all honesty, we do still have some things that we're trying to work through, and just trying to find out exactly who's available and healthy, and all those type of things are they evolve every day through practice, and so we just have to kind of see as we get closer, Scotty. I think we're still a little bit too far out on exactly what we might do, and I still want to spend the weekend looking at matchups, and want to get off to a quicker start maybe than what we did at Texas as well.
Anything else for Coach? All right, Coach. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
School Pig Suey.